A Vampire Romance, written by Amelia Hart. Chapter 1. Dust and Secrets. The attic stairs groaned under Emma Hartford's weight. 24 years of life, and she'd never climbed these particular steps before. Her grandmother's house felt different now, empty in a way that went beyond Judith's absence. 2 weeks since the funeral, and Emma was only now forcing herself to face what remained. She'd spent 3 days organizing the ground floor, packing dishes that nobody wanted, sorting through photograph albums, boxing up clothes for donation. Normal grief, normal tasks. The kind of busy work that kept her hands occupied and her mind blessedly blank. The attic was different. Judith had mentioned it exactly once, years ago, with a strange look in her eyes. Some things are meant to stay buried until the right moment, she'd said. Emma had been 15 then, too young to question the cryptic words. Now she understood. Some things stayed buried because they were meant to be found later. The trapdoor to the attic resisted at first. Emma had to shove hard, muscles straining, before the wooden panel finally gave way. Dust rained down, catching in the afternoon sunlight that filtered through the hallway window below. She coughed, waving her hand through the particles, and pulled herself up into the space above. The smell hit her immediately. Old paper and forgotten things. Wood that had been sitting undisturbed for decades. The single window at the far end cast long shadows across the cluttered floor. Sheet-covered furniture created strange shapes in the dimness. Boxes stacked 3 high blocked most of the walking space. Emma's phone buzzed in her back pocket. She pulled it out, squinting at the screen. Jenna's name flashed across the display. Her best friend had been checking in constantly since Judith's death. "Hey," Emma answered, wedging the phone between her shoulder and ear as she navigated between the boxes. "Just making sure you're still breathing," Jenna said. "You've been at that house all day." "I'm fine. Just went up to the attic." "The creepy attic Judith never let anyone into?" "That's the one." Emma moved a stack of old magazines aside, revealing more boxes underneath. "It's not that creepy, just dusty." "Right. And you're alone in an empty house going through a forbidden attic. That's not the setup for a horror movie at all." Emma smiled despite herself. "I'll scream if anything jumps out at me. Please do. I'm only 15 minutes away if you need backup." Jenna paused. "Did you reschedule those photo sessions you canceled?" The question brought Emma back to reality. Bills. Rent. The practical concerns of being a freelance photographer who'd just lost a week of work. "Not yet. I will. You can't afford to keep canceling clients, Em." "I know." Emma sighed, moving deeper into the attic. "I just need a few more days to get this sorted." "Okay. But call me if you need anything, promise." "I will. Promise." Emma ended the call and shoved the phone back into her pocket. Jenna meant well, but she didn't understand. Nobody did. Judith hadn't just been her grandmother. She'd been the only family Emma had left after the car accident that took her parents 9 years ago. The thought threatened to pull her under, so Emma focused on the task at hand. She needed to find something. Anything that explained why Judith had left this house to her. Why the lawyer had looked at her so strangely when reading the will. A wooden chest caught her attention. Unlike the other furniture, this one wasn't covered in a sheet. It sat in the far corner, partially hidden behind a stack of boxes that looked deliberately placed. Emma knelt in front of it, running her fingers over the carved surface. The wood was old but well maintained. Someone had taken care of this. The lock was simple. Emma tugged on it, expecting resistance. Instead, it popped open immediately. She lifted the lid. Inside lay a single leather-bound journal. The pages were yellowed with age, but the handwriting on the visible page was unmistakable. Judith's careful script, the same flowing letters Emma had seen on birthday cards and Christmas notes her entire life. She lifted the journal carefully. Beneath it, something else caught the light. A piece of tape, yellowed and brittle, stuck to the bottom of the chest. A key dangled from it. Emma's heart rate picked up. She pulled the key free, turning it over in her palm. It was old. Heavier than modern keys, the kind that belonged to something important. She opened the journal to the marked page. A date was written at the top, 3 months before Judith's death. The entry was short. Emma will need to understand. The pattern repeats every 200 years, exactly as I discovered. The combination is Orford 15, 1825. She'll know what it means when she finds it. I only pray I lived long enough to prepare her properly. But if I didn't, the chest will have to do. Emma read the passage 3 times. The combination meant nothing to her. Neither did the cryptic reference to a pattern. But the date at the bottom of the page made her pause. April 15th, 1825. 200 years ago. She stood, scanning the attic with new eyes. If there was a combination, there had to be something to open. Her gaze swept across the shadowed corners until she spotted it. A sheet in the far corner, draped over something square and low to the ground. Unlike the other covered furniture, this sheet looked deliberately placed. Recent, even. Emma moved toward it, stepping over boxes and navigating around old furniture. She grabbed the corner of the sheet and pulled. Dust billowed up, making her cough again. When it settled, she found herself staring at a metal safe. Old. The kind she'd seen in movies about bank heists and secret treasures. The dial on the front gleamed despite the dirt coating the rest of the surface. Emma's hands trembled as she knelt in front of it. She pulled out her phone, looking at the numbers again. 04, 15, 1825. Right. She spun the dial to 4, then 15, then 18, 25. Nothing happened. She tried again, slower this time. 4, 15, 18, 25. The safe gave a metallic click. The door swung open an inch. Emma's breath caught in her throat. She pulled the door fully open, the hinges protesting with a rusty squeal. Inside the safe, 2 items rested on the felt-lined bottom. A ring and a photograph. The ring came first. Emma lifted it with shaking fingers. Gold, old gold, with 3 rubies set in an intricate pattern. The metal was heavy, substantial, real. The inside of the band had an inscription, but the script was too small to read in the dim light. She set the ring aside carefully and picked up the photograph. It was sepia-toned, the edges worn but the image still clear. A woman stared back at her from across the centuries. Young, maybe 22 or 23. Long curling hair, pulled back in a style Emma recognized from history books. The dress was definitely 1820s. High-waisted, long sleeves, formal. But it was the face that made Emma's heart stop. The woman in the photograph looked exactly like her. Same eyes, same nose, same slight curve to the jaw. The resemblance wasn't close. It was absolute. Emma could have been looking at herself in a costume. She flipped the photograph over, handwriting on the back, different from Judith's, older, elegant in a way that suggested a different era. Eleanor Hartford, April 1825. Emma dropped the photograph. It fluttered to the floor, landing face up. The woman stared at her from the dust-covered boards. Emma scrambled backward, her back hitting a box. The safe door swung shut with a hollow thud. This wasn't possible. People didn't look identical across 2 centuries. Genetics didn't work that way. Emma had studied enough about genealogy to know that family resemblances faded over generations. Great-great-great-grandmothers didn't look exactly like their descendants. But the evidence was right there. Eleanor Hartford. Emma Hartford. The same face. Emma's phone rang, the sound sharp in the silent attic. She jumped, fumbling to answer it. Unknown number. She almost declined, but something made her hesitate. Her thumb hovered over the red button. She answered. Hello? Emma Hartford? The voice was male, deep, controlled. I apologize for calling you directly, but I need to know. Did you find something in your grandmother's attic? Emma's blood turned cold. Who is this? My name is Dominic Gray. I knew your grandmother. She told me you might discover something important today. Emma's eyes went to the safe, to the ring, to the photograph lying face up on the floor. How did you know I was in the attic? Because today is the day she planned for you to find it. The ring, the photograph. A pause. She told me the combination was written in her journal. She was very specific about timing. Emma stood, backing toward the trapdoor. I don't know what you're talking about. Please don't lie. I can hear it in your voice. You found them. The ring that belonged to Eleanor Hartford. The photograph from 1825. His voice softened. I need to see them. And you need answers. Let me help you understand. I'm hanging up now. Wait. Please. Something desperate entered his tone. Your grandmother asked me to wait until you were ready. Until you found them yourself. She said you wouldn't believe me otherwise. But now you have questions. I know you do. How does a woman from 1825 look exactly like you? Why did Judith hide these things? What does it mean? Emma's hand tightened on the phone. You're insane. I'm the only person who can explain what you're seeing. But not over the phone. I need to see you. To see them. He paused. I'm outside the house right now. I've been waiting all day. Please. Just let me show you the truth. Emma ended the call. Her hands shook as she shoved the phone into her pocket. This was wrong. All of it. Strange men didn't call out of nowhere knowing exactly what she'd found. They didn't wait outside houses. This was stalker behavior. Dangerous. She grabbed the ring and the photograph, shoving them both into her jacket pocket. Then she turned toward the trap door, ready to climb down and lock every door in the house. The doorbell rang. Emma froze at the top of the ladder. The sound echoed through the empty house below. Once. Twice. Then a pause. Her phone buzzed. Another call. Same unknown number. Against every instinct screaming at her to hide, Emma answered. What do you want? I want to explain. That's all. Your grandmother trusted me. She wouldn't have left instructions for you to find those items if she didn't believe you'd need help understanding them. His voice was calm, patient. I'm at your door. Let me in. 5 minutes. If you don't believe me after that, I'll leave and never contact you again. How do I know you're not dangerous? You don't. But your grandmother did. She knew me for 5 years. She trusted me with secrets she didn't share with anyone else. A pause. Call your friend, the one you spoke to earlier. Tell her where you are and who you're meeting. Keep your phone in your hand the entire time. I won't stop you. Emma's mind raced. This was insane. She should call the police. Should run. But she looked down at her pocket, where the ring and photograph rested. At the safe. At Judith's journal with its cryptic message about patterns and 200 years. She'd wanted answers. Now someone was offering them. Emma climbed down from the attic, her legs unsteady. She walked through the house to the front door, pulling out her phone as she went. She sent a quick text to Jenna. Man named Dominic Gray is at Judith's house. Says he knew her. If I don't text you in 30 minutes, call the police. Jenna's response came immediately. WTF. I'm coming over now. No, just wait. I'll be fine. Emma reached the front door. Through the frosted glass, she could see a dark silhouette. Tall. Still. She unlocked the door and pulled it open. The man standing on Judith's porch looked nothing like what she'd expected. He was young. Or at least, he looked young. Maybe 32. Black hair fell to his shoulders, perfectly straight. His skin was pale, almost translucent in the low evening light. Gray eyes met hers, and something in their depths made her breath catch. He wore a suit. Expensive. Tailored. The kind Emma had only seen in magazine spreads. Emma Hartford. He said softly. Thank you for letting me in. Emma's hand tightened on the doorframe. I didn't say you could come in. No, you didn't. He smiled, and the expression transformed his face. May I? Emma stepped aside. She didn't know why. Every rational part of her brain screamed that this was wrong, but something about the way he looked at her made her move. Dominic Gray crossed the threshold into Judith's house. He stopped in the entryway, his eyes scanning the space with what looked like familiarity, as if he'd been here before. He moved with the careful, unhurried grace of someone who had been waiting for the sun to finish dying. You knew my grandmother, Emma said. It wasn't a question. I did. He turned to face her fully. She was remarkable. Brilliant. She understood things most people can't even imagine. What kind of things? Dominic's eyes went to her pocket, where the ring and photograph rested. Things like the pattern that repeats every 200 years. Things like blood and lineage and the weight of history. He met her gaze again. Things like what you found in that attic. Emma pulled the photograph from her pocket. She held it up between them. Who is she? Dominic's face went absolutely still. Every muscle froze. His eyes fixed on the image with an intensity that made Emma take a step backward. When he spoke again, his voice was barely above a whisper. That is Eleanor Hartford. And she was the love of my life 200 years ago. Chapter 2. Impossible Truths. Emma's living room had never felt so small. Dominic Gray stood in the center of it, taking up space in a way that had nothing to do with his physical size. He hadn't moved since she'd shown him the photograph. Just stood there, staring at Eleanor's face with an expression Emma couldn't name. 200 years, Emma said. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. You're telling me you knew this woman 200 years ago? I did. Dominic finally looked up from the photograph. I loved her. We were engaged to be married. That's impossible. I know how it sounds. Emma crossed her arms. Her phone sat heavy in her pocket, Jenna waiting on the other end of a single text message. People don't live 200 years. That's not how biology works. You're correct. People don't. Dominic's gray eyes held hers. But I'm not people, Emma. I haven't been for a very long time. The way he said it made something cold crawl down her spine. Emma took a step backward, her heel hitting the coffee table. I think you should leave. I will. If that's what you truly want. He moved toward the couch, lowering himself into a sitting position without breaking eye contact. But your grandmother spent 5 years preparing for this moment. She knew you'd need answers. She knew I was the only one who could provide them. Judith never mentioned you. She wouldn't have. We agreed it would be safer if she didn't. Dominic leaned forward, elbows on his knees. She contacted me 5 years ago. She'd been researching your family genealogy for a personal project. What she found troubled her enough to seek me out. Emma's hands tightened on her arms. What did she find? The pattern. Dominic gestured to the photograph still clutched in Emma's hand. Eleanor Hartford was born in 1803. She died in 1825 at the age of 22. But before Eleanor, there was another woman. Catherine Hartford, born in 1603, died in 1625. And before Catherine, another. The records go back almost 1,000 years. Different names, different circumstances, but always the same face. Your face. The room tilted. Emma sat down hard on the armchair across from him. That's not possible. Genetic repetition. It's extraordinarily rare, but it happens. Your grandmother found documentation going back 12 generations. Every 200 years, your family line produces a woman who is genetically identical to her ancestor. Dominic pulled something from his jacket pocket. A leather folder, old and worn. He opened it, revealing pages protected by clear sleeves. She compiled this. Photographs when they became available. Paintings before that. Sketches. Birth and death records. He held the folder out. Emma didn't take it. Look at them, Dominic said quietly. Please. Against her better judgment, Emma reached for the folder. The first page showed a pencil sketch. The paper yellowed with age. A woman's face, delicate and precise. Emma's face. The notation at the bottom read, Margaret Hartford, 1425. She turned the page. A painted miniature, small and exquisite. The same face stared back at her. Anne Hartford, 1625. Another page. Another face. Always the same. How? Emma's voice cracked. How is this possible? I don't have all the answers. Neither did your grandmother. But she spent 5 years researching. She found records of similar phenomena in other bloodlines. Always women. Always spaced exactly 200 years apart. Some families called it a blessing. Others called it a curse. Dominic leaned back. Judith called it a responsibility. Emma closed the folder. Her hands shook. Why did she contact you? Because I knew Eleanor. Because I was there when she made her choice. Dominic's expression darkened. And because I'm the reason your family has this pattern in the first place. What does that mean? It means Eleanor and I were engaged. It means I offered her something most humans never receive. A choice. He stood, moving to the window. Outside, the last light before dusk cast long shadows across Judith's garden. I offered her immortality, Emma. The chance to live forever at my side. She refused. Emma's laugh came out bitter. Right. Immortality. Let me guess. You're a vampire. Dominic turned from the window. His face was perfectly serious. Yes. The single word hung in the air between them. Emma waited for the punchline, for some indication that this was an elaborate joke, but Dominic just stood there, watching her with those impossibly gray eyes. You're insane, Emma said. I'm not, but I understand why you'd think so. Dominic reached into his pocket again, this time pulling out a small hand mirror. The frame was silver, tarnished with age. Your grandmother knew you wouldn't believe without proof. She suggested I bring this. He held the mirror up beside his face. Emma could see the reflection clearly. The window behind him. The curtains. The wall. Everything except Dominic himself. The space where he stood remained empty in the glass. Emma stood so fast her chair rocked backward. That's a trick. Mirrors don't work that way. It's not a trick. Dominic lowered the mirror. I cast no reflection. I have no heartbeat. I don't breathe unless I consciously choose to. I've lived for 600 years, and I remember every single one of them. Stop. I know this is frightening. Your grandmother knew it would be. That's why she prepared so carefully. Why she left the journal, the combination, the items in the safe. She wanted you to have time to process before I appeared. Dominic took a step closer. But now I'm here. And you need to understand what you are, what you've always been. I'm not anything. I'm just Emma Hartford. I'm 24 years old. I'm a photographer. I pay rent. I have student loans. I'm normal. You're extraordinary. Dominic's voice softened. You're the continuation of a bloodline that has fascinated me for 2 centuries. You're Eleanor's genetic twin, born into a different world, and you're in danger. That stopped her. What? The moment you found that ring, the moment you discovered who you are, you became visible to forces you don't understand. Dominic moved closer. His movements too smooth to be entirely human. Other vampires will sense your blood. They'll know what you represent. Some will want to protect you. Others will want to use you. Emma backed toward the door. I want you to leave. Now. I will. But first, I need you to understand something crucial. Dominic pulled a card from his pocket, setting it on the coffee table. That ring you found belonged to Eleanor. I gave it to her when we became engaged. When she chose mortality over eternity, I told her to keep it, to pass it down through her family. I told her that one day, someone who looked exactly like her would be born, and that person would need my help. Why would I need help from someone who thinks he's a vampire? Because you don't know what's coming. Dominic moved toward the door, giving her space. Your grandmother kept you hidden. She never wore the ring, never spoke of the family history. She protected you by keeping you ignorant. But now that protection is gone. Now you're exposed. Emma's hand found the doorknob. You need to leave. I'm going. Dominic paused at the threshold. But take the card. Keep your phone close. And Emma, don't wear the ring. Not yet. Not until you understand what it means. What does it mean? It means Eleanor Hartford was mine 200 years ago. And every vampire in this city will smell her blood the moment you put that ring on your finger. He stepped out onto the porch. They'll come for you. Some out of curiosity. Some out of respect for what Eleanor meant to me. And some because they want to hurt me. And hurting you would be the perfect way to do it. This is insane. Yes, but it's also true. Dominic descended the porch steps, moving with that same unnatural grace. Call me when you're ready to believe. Or call me when the others come. Either way, I'll answer. He walked to a black Mercedes parked at the curb. Emma hadn't even noticed it before. The car was pristine, expensive, the kind she saw in magazines but never on her street. Dominic slid into the driver's seat and pulled away without looking back. Emma stood in the doorway until the car disappeared around the corner. Then she closed the door, locked it, and leaned against the wood with her heart hammering. Her phone buzzed. Jenna's name flashed across the screen. Are you alive? Jenna demanded the moment Emma answered. I'm fine. 30 minutes. It's been 30 minutes. You said if you didn't text me. I know. I'm sorry. I lost track of time. What did this Dominic Gray guy want? Emma looked at the card on the coffee table. Plain white. A phone number embossed in black. No name, no address. Just 10 digits. He knew Judith, Emma said. He wanted to talk about family history. For 30 minutes? He had a lot to say. Emma moved to the window, looking out at the empty street. Jenna, have you ever heard of genetic repetition? Like someone being born who looks exactly like an ancestor? Like those celebrity doppelganger things? Where someone finds an old painting that looks just like them? Yeah, but real, documented, scientifically proven. I think I saw something about that on a documentary once. It's super rare, but it happens. Why? Emma touched the photograph in her pocket. Eleanor's face. Her face. Just curious. Em, are you okay? You sound weird. I'm fine, just tired. It's been a long day. Do you want me to come over? I can bring takeout. We can watch terrible movies and not think about dead grandmothers for a few hours. I'm actually going to head home soon. Get some real sleep. Okay, but call me if you need anything. Promise. I will. Promise. Emma ended the call. The house felt too quiet now. Too empty. She could still see Dominic standing in the living room, holding that mirror, the empty space where his reflection should have been. It was a trick. It had to be. Special effects or something. People couldn't live for 600 years. Vampires weren't real. But the folder was still on the coffee table. Emma picked it up, opening it again. Page after page of faces that could have been her own. 12 generations. Documented. Real. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Different from the one Dominic had called from before. Emma answered without thinking. Hello? Emma Hartford? A woman's voice. Cold. Precise. You don't know me, but I know you. I know what you found today. I know who came to visit you. And I know you don't believe him yet. Emma's blood turned cold. Who is this? A friend. Or an enemy. That depends entirely on the choices you make in the next few days. A pause. Dominic Gray is dangerous. Whatever he told you about your grandmother, about your family, it's only half the truth. He's using you. Just like he used Eleanor. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. You're holding the proof in your hands right now. That folder. Those faces. He showed them to you to make you trust him. To make you think he cares about you as an individual. The woman's voice sharpened. He doesn't. He only cares about what you represent. What your blood can do for him. Emma's hand tightened on the phone. What do you want? I want you to know the truth. I want you to understand that everything Dominic told you serves his own agenda. He's not protecting you. He's claiming you. The line went quiet for a moment. Don't trust him, Emma. And whatever you do, don't let him convince you to put on that ring. How do you know about the ring? Because I knew Eleanor too. And I was there the day she died. The day Dominic's love destroyed her. A pause. Sleep well, Emma Hartford. We'll speak again soon. The line went dead. Emma stared at her phone. 2 calls from strangers in one day. Both talking about things they shouldn't know. Both warning her. Both making claims that sounded impossible. She looked at the photograph again. Eleanor Hartford stared back at her across 200 years, wearing an expression Emma recognized. It was the same look she'd seen in her bathroom mirror that morning. Tired, uncertain, searching for answers that refused to come. The ring sat on the coffee table where she'd left it. Gold and rubies. Beautiful and ancient and somehow threatening. Emma reached for it, then stopped. Dominic's words echoed in her mind. Don't wear the ring. Not yet. Not until you understand what it means. Emma picked up the ring instead, holding it up to the low evening light streaming through the window. The rubies caught the sun, glowing like drops of blood. The inscription inside the band was clearer now. Latin, she thought. Or something older. Her phone buzzed a third time. Another text from Jenna. Seriously, are you sure you're okay? You're being weird. Emma typed back quickly. Fine. Promise. Just processing things. Talk tomorrow. She set the phone down and looked around Judith's living room. The house where she'd spent so many weekends as a child. The place that had always felt safe. Now it felt different. Heavy with secrets and questions, and the weight of 200 years of history she'd never asked for. Emma gathered the photograph, the ring, and the folder. She climbed back up to the attic, returning them to the safe. The metal door closed with a solid thunk. She spun the dial, scrambling the combination. Tomorrow she would figure this out. Tomorrow she would decide whether Dominic Gray was telling the truth, or if he was the most elaborate con artist she'd ever met. Tomorrow she would call Jenna and tell her everything, and they would laugh about the insane man who thought he was a vampire. But tonight, Emma Hartford drove home to her apartment, locked every door and window, and tried very hard not to think about the face in the photograph, the face that was hers, the face that had existed 12 times before across 800 years. And she definitely didn't think about the way Dominic Gray had looked at her, as if seeing someone he'd lost long ago, as if she was both a stranger and someone he'd known his entire life. Emma didn't sleep well that night. Every shadow in her bedroom looked like a figure standing in the corner. Every creak of the old building sounded like footsteps, and when she finally drifted off near dawn, she dreamed of a woman in a white dress standing on a cliff, looking out at dark water. The woman turned, and Emma saw her own face. Then the woman stepped forward into nothing, falling toward the rocks below. Emma woke up gasping. Her phone showed 6:47 a.m. Still early. She had a wedding shoot scheduled for noon. She needed to get up, shower, and pretend yesterday never happened. But when she rolled over, she saw something that made her heart stop. A white envelope had been slipped under her apartment door. Chapter 3. Eleanor's Shadow. The restaurant was Dominic's choice. High-end, quiet, the kind of place where conversations stayed private and questions went unasked. Emma sat across from him at a corner table, watching the way candlelight failed to warm his pale skin. 3 days had passed since she'd found the envelope under her door. 3 days of thinking about nothing else. The envelope had contained a single photograph, Eleanor Hartford standing beside a man whose face was unmistakable. Dominic Gray, dressed in clothes from 1823, his arm around Eleanor's waist. The same face, the same gray eyes, unchanged across 2 centuries. Emma had called the number on his card that morning. Now she sat across from a man who claimed to be 600 years old, and somehow that seemed less impossible than it had 3 days ago. "Thank you for meeting me," Dominic said. His hands rested on the white tablecloth, perfectly still. "I know this hasn't been easy. You sent me that photograph." "I did. I thought you might need more proof." He gestured to the menu. "You should eat. You look tired." Emma ignored the menu. "Tell me about Eleanor. The real story. Not the version you gave me in Judith's house." Dominic's expression shifted. Something old and painful crossed his face. "What do you want to know?" "Everything. How you met. How she died. Why you think I'm connected to her." Emma leaned forward. "And I want the truth this time. No omissions. I never lied to you. But you didn't tell me everything either. That woman who called me. She said you were using me, that you only care about what I represent." Dominic's jaw tightened. "Camille Winters. I should have known she'd reach out. Who is she?" "Someone who has no interest in your well-being. Only in undermining me." He paused as a server approached. Dominic ordered wine. Emma asked for water. When they were alone again, Dominic continued, "I met Eleanor at a winter ball in 1823. She was 20 years old. Beautiful. Intelligent. Everything I hadn't allowed myself to want in centuries." His voice softened. "I'd stopped looking at humans that way. Stopped seeing them as anything but food or obstacles. But Eleanor was different. Why? Because she looked at me and saw past the performance. I'd spent 300 years pretending to be human, playing the role of whatever the era demanded. Nobleman, merchant, soldier. But Eleanor saw through it immediately." He smiled. But there was no joy in it. "She asked me at that first meeting why I wasn't eating. Why I stood in the shadows. Why my hands were cold when we danced." Emma's throat tightened. "What did you tell her?" "Nothing. Not then. I avoided her for weeks, but she was persistent. She kept appearing at events I attended. Kept asking questions I couldn't answer." Dominic's gaze went distant. "Finally, I showed her. I took her to my estate and proved what I was. I thought she'd run. Thought she'd scream or faint or call for help. But she didn't. No. She sat down in my study and asked how long I'd been alive. Asked what it felt like. Asked if I was lonely. His voice dropped. No one had asked me that in 200 years. The server returned with their drinks. Emma took a long sip of water, buying time to process. Across from her, Dominic lifted the wine glass but didn't drink. Just held it, another piece of the human performance he'd perfected. We spent 6 months together. Dominic continued. She'd come to my estate at night. We'd talk for hours, about everything. Philosophy, history, art. She wanted to know about the world before she was born. I wanted to know what it felt like to still be fully alive. He set the glass down. I fell in love with her. Completely. Irrevocably. In a way I hadn't allowed myself to love in centuries. So you proposed. I did. And I offered her a choice. Become what I am. Live forever at my side or stay human and eventually die while I remained unchanged. Dominic's hands finally moved, fingers curling into fists. She chose humanity. She said she'd rather have 50 years of real life than eternity as something else. Emma understood that. She thought she might have made the same choice. I accepted her decision, Dominic said. I told her we could still marry, that I'd cherish whatever time we had together, that I'd watch her age and die, and I'd carry the memory forever. His voice cracked. She agreed. We set a date, spring of 1825, but she died before the wedding. Yes, the single word carried centuries of pain. She became troubled, anxious. She stopped sleeping, stopped eating. I thought it was wedding nerves, normal human stress. He met Emma's eyes. I was wrong. Emma's hands tightened around her water glass. What happened? She climbed to the cliffs above my estate one night. I was hunting, feeding. When I returned at dawn, she was gone. Her maid told me where she'd gone. He stopped, clearly struggling. I found her standing at the edge. The sun was rising. She was crying. Did you stop her? I tried. I called out to her. Told her we'd find another way. That we didn't have to marry if it frightened her. His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. She turned to look at me. She said she loved me. That she'd always love me. But she couldn't bear the thought of becoming old and ugly while I stayed young and perfect. Couldn't bear watching me lose interest. Couldn't bear the inevitable end. Emma felt sick. She jumped. Yes. In the full light of the rising sun. I couldn't reach her. The sunlight weakened me, burned my skin. I had to watch her fall. Dominic's hands opened slowly, as if releasing something held too long. She died on the rocks below. I buried her in her wedding dress. The restaurant sounds faded into background noise. Emma could picture it too clearly. The young woman who looked exactly like her, standing on a cliff in the dawn light, making an impossible choice. I'm sorry, Emma said quietly. So am I. Every day for 200 years. Dominic finally lifted the wine glass and drank. Emma watched his throat move, the gesture so perfectly human it was almost convincing. I swore I'd never care about another human that way. Never let myself feel that kind of loss again. But then you met me. No. Then Judith contacted me 5 years ago. She'd found the pattern. She knew what you were. What you'd become. He set the glass down. She asked me to wait. To let you grow up without knowing. To give you a normal life as long as possible. She said when you were ready, when you turned 24, she'd tell you everything and introduce us properly. But she died first, 3 months before your birthday. Heart attack, sudden. I was in Europe when it happened. By the time I returned, she was already gone. Dominic's expression hardened. She'd left instructions. The safe, the combination, the journal. She knew you'd find them eventually. Emma processed this. Why didn't you just contact me after she died? Why wait? Because I promised her I wouldn't. Because she knew you'd need time to process her death before dealing with this. He gestured between them. And because I wasn't sure I could handle meeting you. Seeing Eleanor's face on someone else. I'm not Eleanor. I know. Judith made that very clear. You're genetically identical, but you're your own person. Your own experiences. Your own choices. Dominic leaned back. But I won't pretend it wasn't difficult. Seeing you that first day, hearing your voice. You even moved the same way she did. Emma stood abruptly. I need air. Of course. Dominic didn't move to follow her. Emma walked to the restaurant's entrance, pushing through the heavy glass doors onto the sidewalk. The night air was cool against her flushed skin. Her hands shook as she pulled out her phone. She should call Jenna. Should tell someone where she was. Should do all the smart, safe things you're supposed to do when meeting strangers who claim to be vampires. Instead, she stared at her reflection in the restaurant window. Her face. Eleanor's face. A face that had existed over and over across centuries. Always ending the same way. Always choosing mortality over the alternative. Behind her reflection, she saw Dominic standing inside. He was watching her through the glass with an expression that made her chest ache. Not hunger. Not possession. Just profound, endless loneliness. Emma's phone buzzed. Text from Jenna. Wedding shoot went great. Client loved the shots. You free tomorrow? Normal life. Normal concerns. Emma typed back. Yeah. Call you later. She turned back to the restaurant. Dominic was still standing there, waiting. Not pressuring. Not following. Just waiting for her to make a choice. Emma walked back inside. Returned to the table. Sat down across from a 600-year-old vampire who loved a dead woman who had her face. Tell me about the blood, Emma said. You mentioned it before. That my blood is special. Explain that. Dominic settled back into his chair. The repetition in your family line creates something unique. Blood that carries the exact genetic signature as the original. In vampire terms, that's extremely rare. Most bloodlines dilute over generations, but yours doesn't. Every 200 years, it resets completely. What does that mean practically? It means your blood has properties that normal human blood doesn't. Healing properties. Restorative qualities. He paused. It means vampires can sense it, can smell it, can feel the pull of it from blocks away. Emma's stomach dropped. Like a target, like a beacon. Yes. Dominic's expression grew serious. That's why Judith kept you hidden. Why she never wore the ring. Why she asked me to stay away. As long as you were ignorant, as long as the ring stayed buried, you were safe. Other vampires couldn't find you. But now they can. Now you've touched the ring. Held it. The connection activated. Every vampire in this city knows you exist now. He held her gaze. Including the ones who'd like to use you against me. Emma remembered the woman's voice on the phone. Camille, what do they want from me? Some want protection. Alliance with me through you. Others want leverage. A way to control me or hurt me. A few might genuinely believe they're saving you from me. Dominic's voice hardened. And some just want your blood. Want to taste what Eleanor tasted like. Want to know if the legends are true. What legends? That blood from a repeated line can heal even fatal wounds. That it can restore youth to vampires who've lived too long. That it can break curses or forge new powers. He shook his head. Most of it is mythology. But enough of it is true that you're in real danger now. Emma's hands went cold. So what do I do? You accept my protection. You let me keep you safe until we figure out what Camille and the others are planning. Dominic leaned forward. Or you let me erase your memories. I can do that. Take away everything about vampires and bloodlines and Eleanor. Send you back to your normal life. You'd be safe again. But the ring would still exist. We'd destroy it. Break the connection. You'd be free. Emma thought about that. Thought about going back to wedding shoots and rent payments and coffee with Jenna. Thought about forgetting Dominic Gray's gray eyes and the weight of 200 years of history pressing down on her shoulders. She thought about Eleanor standing on that cliff, choosing death over an impossible future. I don't want to forget, Emma said finally. I want to understand. I want to know what this all means. Then stay with me. Let me show you what your grandmother discovered. Let me prove that I'm not your enemy. What about Camille? We'll deal with her. Together. Dominic extended his hand across the table. Not demanding. Offering. I'm not asking you to trust me completely. Just enough to stay alive. Emma looked at his hand. Pale. Cold. unchanged for 6 centuries. She took it. His skin was ice against hers, but his grip was gentle. Careful, as if he was afraid she might break. "Thank you," he said quietly. Emma pulled her hand back. "Don't thank me yet. I have conditions." "Name them." "Complete honesty from now on. No more half-truths or convenient omissions. If I ask a question, you answer it fully." "Agreed. And you remember that I'm not Eleanor. Whatever you felt for her, whatever you want from her, I'm not her replacement." Something shifted in Dominic's expression. "I know that. I promise you." "I know." Emma stood. "Then show me. Show me this world I'm apparently part of now." Dominic rose as well, moving with that unnatural grace. "Where would you like to start?" "Your estate." "The one where Eleanor died. I want to see it." He hesitated. "Are you certain?" "Yes." Emma grabbed her jacket. "If I'm going to understand this, I need to see where it all happened. I need to walk where she walked." "All right." Dominic pulled out his phone, typing quickly. "I'll have someone drive us. It's outside the city." "How far?" "An hour. Maybe less at this time of night." He looked at her. "This isn't easy to see. The cliffs, the rocks below. I haven't been back there since the day she died." "Then maybe it's time we both faced it," Emma said. She didn't know if she was brave or stupid. Didn't know if trusting Dominic Gray was the smartest decision or the worst mistake of her life. But as she followed him out of the restaurant into the night, Emma Hartford knew one thing with absolute certainty. She was tired of living in Eleanor's shadow. Tired of being the echo of someone else's life. Whatever came next, whatever dangers waited in the darkness, Emma would face them as herself. Not as a replacement. Not as a repetition. As Emma. Chapter 4. Hidden Worlds. Emma's Honda Civic looked out of place in the underground parking garage. Surrounded by luxury vehicles and expensive SUVs, her aging sedan seemed to shrink. She'd driven herself, refusing Dominic's offer of a ride. Some boundaries needed to stay intact. The club sat above them. Emma could hear music thumping through the concrete, bass that made her ribcage vibrate. "This is a mistake," she said. Her hand stayed on the door handle. "I should go home. You wanted to see my world." Dominic stood 3 parking spaces away, giving her distance. "This is part of it. The hidden part that exists alongside everything else. A vampire nightclub. A gathering place. Somewhere we can exist without pretense." He gestured toward the elevator. "You'll be safe. They know you're with me." Emma thought about the wedding shoot she'd done yesterday. The smiling couple. The normal joy. She'd stood behind her camera capturing moments that made sense. Love that followed rules she understood. This was different. This was choosing to step into something that would change everything. She got out of the car. Dominic moved toward the elevator without waiting. Emma followed. Her heart beat too loud in the enclosed space. The elevator doors closed them in together. Dominic pressed a button marked with a symbol Emma didn't recognize. "They're going to stare," he said quietly. "You look like someone they thought was lost. Try not to react." "I'm not Eleanor." "I know, but they don't. Not yet." The elevator climbed. "Stay close to me. Don't accept drinks from anyone. Don't let anyone touch your skin. And absolutely don't agree to anything, no matter how reasonable it sounds." Emma's stomach tightened. "You're really selling this experience. I'm keeping you alive." The doors opened. Music poured in, louder now. "Ready?" "No." Emma stepped forward anyway. The club was underground but felt limitless. High ceilings disappeared into darkness above. The walls were stone, ancient, like walking into a castle. But the furnishings were modern. Sleek leather couches arranged in intimate clusters. A bar made of black glass stretching the length of one wall. And everywhere, people who moved just slightly wrong. Too fast. Too smooth. Too aware of everything happening around them. Vampires. Emma's hand found Dominic's arm without thinking. He didn't pull away, just guided her through the crowd toward a quieter section along the far wall. Heads turned as they passed. Conversation stopped. Emma felt eyes tracking her movement. Felt something else, too. A pressure against her mind, like someone trying to open a door she hadn't known existed. "Don't look them in the eyes," Dominic murmured. Some of them will try to compel you. I can block most of it, but direct eye contact makes it stronger. Emma kept her gaze on Dominic's back. They reached a private booth, separated from the main floor by a velvet rope. A man sat there already. Human, Emma thought. He looked up at their approach, recognition crossing his face. Theo Prescott, Dominic said. My attorney. Theo? This is Emma Hartford. Theo stood, extending a hand. His grip was warm. Normal. Emma wanted to cry from relief. Ms. Hartford, I've heard a great deal about you. From Dominic or from my grandmother? Both, actually. Judith was quite insistent I prepare certain documents. Theo gestured for them to sit. I understand this is overwhelming. That's one word for it. Emma slid into the booth. Dominic sat beside her, maintaining a careful distance. You're human. I am. Have been for 45 years. Plan to stay that way. Theo smiled. I know what you're thinking. Why would a human work for a vampire? Why risk it? The question crossed my mind. Because Dominic saved my life 20 years ago. Because he pays exceptionally well. And because someone needs to handle the legal complexities of immortal existence. Theo pulled a leather folder from his briefcase. Birth certificates, death certificates, property transfers, banking arrangements. The paperwork never ends. Emma watched Dominic. He sat perfectly still, scanning the crowd with those gray eyes. Alert, protective. So, this is normal for you? Emma said to Theo. Sitting in a vampire club, talking about forged documents. I've been doing this for 10 years now. You get used to it. Theo opened the folder. Dominic asked me to show you how we operate. How vampires maintain their secrecy in the modern world. I thought it might help you understand what you're dealing with. Emma leaned forward. The folder contained ID cards, passports, documents spanning decades. All with Dominic's face. Different names, different birth dates, different nationalities. He reinvents himself every 30 years, Theo explained. New identity, new background, new life. We age his appearance gradually using doctored photographs. By the time he reaches apparent age 50, he disappears, dies on paper, then resurfaces elsewhere as someone younger. How is that possible? Money. Lots of it. Accumulated over centuries. Theo flipped through pages. Dominic owns 17 properties worldwide, multiple corporations, investments that have compounded for generations. He could buy this entire city if he wanted. Emma looked at Dominic. You never mentioned that. It's not relevant to what you needed to know. He nodded toward the folder. Theo handles everything. Taxes, legal disputes, the mundane reality of existing across centuries. A woman approached their booth. She was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. Perfect bone structure. Eyes that glowed amber in the low light. She wore a red dress that might have been painted on. Dominic Gray, she purred. Her voice carried an accent Emma couldn't place. Bringing humans into our sanctuary now? How progressive of you. Camille. Dominic's voice went cold. You're not welcome here. So this was her. The woman who'd called Emma that first night. Emma studied Camille's face, looking for threat or danger. All she saw was beauty, and something sharp beneath it. I'm not here to cause trouble. Camille's eyes found Emma. I wanted to meet the famous Eleanor Hartford. Or is it Emma now? So hard to keep track. Her name is Emma, Dominic said. And she's under my protection. Of course she is. Just like Eleanor was under your protection. We all know how well that ended. Camille smiled, all teeth. Tell me, Emma, has he told you the truth yet? About why Eleanor really died? About what his love costs? Emma met Camille's eyes despite Dominic's warning. He told me. She chose death over watching him stay young while she aged. Is that what he said? Camille laughed. How romantic. How convenient. She leaned closer. Did he mention that Eleanor begged him to transform her at the end? That she changed her mind? That he refused? Dominic stood. Leave. Now. Why? Because I'm telling her what you won't? Camille's expression hardened. Eleanor didn't want to die, Dominic. She wanted to live. You denied her that choice because you couldn't bear the idea of her becoming like you. Because you wanted to keep her pure and human and perfect. And when she realized that, When she understood your precious love was really control, she jumped. That's not what happened, isn't it? Camille turned back to Emma. Ask him. Ask him why he refused to save her when she was standing on that cliff, begging him to make her immortal. Ask him why his pride mattered more than her life. Two men materialized beside Camille. Vampires, both wearing black. Security, Emma guessed. Ms. Winters, one said. You need to leave. Camille raised her hands in mock surrender. Going. But Emma? Remember what I said. Dominic's love destroyed Eleanor. Don't let it destroy you too. She walked away, the red dress drawing every eye. The security vampires followed. Emma looked at Dominic. His jaw was tight, hands curled into fists. Is it true? Did Eleanor ask you to transform her? Yes. The word came out rough. At the end, when she was standing on that cliff, she changed her mind. And you said no. I did. Dominic sat back down, his face anguished. She was hysterical, terrified. She'd spent weeks spiraling into depression because of what transformation would mean. I couldn't do it while she was in that state. Couldn't make her into something she'd hate herself for becoming. So you let her die. I tried to talk her down, tried to convince her we could find another way, but the sun was rising, I was weakening, and He stopped. She stepped off the edge before I could reach her. Emma's chest hurt. She didn't know if it was for Dominic or Eleanor or herself. You should have told me that part. I know. I'm sorry. Dominic met her eyes. I omitted it because it's the part I can't forgive myself for. The moment I replay every single day, wondering if I'd said yes. If I'd just transformed her despite her instability, would she have lived? Would we have found happiness eventually? You don't know that she would have hated being a vampire. No, but I know she hated the idea of it. For months, she told me she'd rather die than become something unnatural, something that fed on others to survive. His voice dropped. When she changed her mind in those final moments, I thought it was the fear talking, the desperate need to live, not a genuine choice. Theo cleared his throat. Perhaps we should continue this conversation somewhere more private. Emma realized people were watching them. Vampires in the crowd, their attention fixed on the booth. On her. Theo's right, Dominic said. This isn't the place. He stood, offering Emma his hand. I'll take you home. We can talk there. Answer every question you have. Emma didn't take his hand. She stood on her own. I drove here. I'll drive myself back. Emma, I need space. I need to think. She looked at Theo. Thank you for showing me the documents. It helped. Of course. If you have questions, legal or otherwise, you can reach me anytime. Theo handed her a card. I mean that. Anytime. Emma pocketed the card. She started toward the elevator without waiting for Dominic. He followed anyway, keeping pace beside her. The elevator ride down was silent. Emma focused on breathing, on not crying, on not thinking about Eleanor standing on a cliff begging for a life Dominic refused to give her. They reached the parking garage. Emma's Honda sat alone in a sea of empty spaces. She'd parked far from everything else. Habit from growing up without money. Protecting the car from door dings. Emma, Dominic caught her arm gently. Please, let me explain properly. You already did. You made a choice. You thought it was right. Emma pulled free. Maybe it was. Maybe Eleanor would have regretted transformation. Maybe you saved her from a worse fate. But you also let her die. And you've spent 200 years trying to justify it. That's not fair, isn't it? Emma turned to face him. You said you'd be completely honest. That you'd tell me everything. But you keep holding back the hard parts. The parts that make you look bad. How am I supposed to trust you when you keep proving I can't? Dominic's expression crumpled. You're right. I'm sorry. I keep making the same mistakes. Trying to protect you from truths I think will hurt you. But all I'm doing is proving Camille right. What do you mean? She said my love destroyed Eleanor. That my need to control her, to keep her perfect, killed her. He met Emma's eyes. She's not entirely wrong. I didn't trust Eleanor to make her own choices at the end. I decided what was best for her. And she died because of it. Emma's hands shook. She shoved them in her pockets. I'm going home. Okay. But Emma, please be careful. The moment you walked into that club, every vampire in the city knows about you now. They'll be watching, waiting to see what you choose. What I choose? Whether you stay human or accept transformation. Whether you align with me or against me. Whether you're Eleanor reborn or someone entirely different. Dominic stepped back. Whatever you decide, I'll respect it. But be careful who you trust. Not everyone wants what's best for you. Emma got into her car, started the engine. Dominic stood in the garage watching her leave, and something about his posture made her think of paintings she'd seen. Medieval art depicting fallen angels. Beautiful and tragic and eternally alone. She drove home through empty streets. It was past midnight. The wedding photos she'd taken yesterday sat in her camera's memory card, waiting to be edited. Normal work, normal life. But Emma Hartford wasn't normal anymore. She was part of something ancient, something dangerous, something that had killed a woman who looked exactly like her 200 years ago. And the vampire who'd loved that woman was either her greatest protection or her greatest threat. Emma still didn't know which. Chapter 5. Blood and Shadows. The attack came at Emma's apartment building. She never made it through the front door. 3 figures stepped out of the shadows as Emma crossed the parking lot. She'd been editing photos on her laptop at a coffee shop, trying to pretend the vampire club hadn't happened. Trying to focus on work, on bills, on normal things. The figures moved faster than anything human. One moment, Emma was alone under the parking lot lights. The next, they surrounded her. Emma Hartford. The voice came from behind. Male. Smooth. We've been waiting for you. Emma spun. The man was tall, blonde, impossibly beautiful. His eyes reflected the overhead lights like an animal's. Vampire. All 3 of them were vampires. Stay away from me. Emma's hand went to her pocket, searching for her phone. Dominic isn't here. The blonde vampire smiled. That's the point. He can't protect you every moment. Eventually you're alone. Eventually you're vulnerable. Emma backed toward her car. The Honda was 10 feet away. If she could just reach it, lock the doors, call for help. A woman appeared between Emma and the vehicle. She had dark hair and darker eyes. Don't run. This will be easier if you cooperate. What do you want? To talk. To make you an offer. The blonde vampire moved closer. My name is Victor. I work for Camille Winters. She asked us to bring you to her. Peacefully, if possible. And if I refuse, then we bring you anyway. Less peacefully. Victor's smile widened. Your choice. Emma's heart hammered. She looked around the parking lot, searching for witnesses, for help. The lot was empty. Just her and 3 vampires and the distant sound of traffic. Dominic said I'm under his protection. Dominic's protection only works if you're with him. Right now, you're fair game. The woman circled around Emma's left side. The 3rd vampire, silent until now, blocked her right. Come with us. Talk to Camille. Hear what she has to say. Then we'll bring you home. Simple. Nothing about this was simple. Emma pulled out her phone, fingers shaking as she found Dominic's number. Victor moved before she could press call. He was across the space in less than a second, snatching the phone from her hand. I don't think so. Emma stumbled backward. Her heel caught on uneven pavement and she went down hard. The asphalt scraped her palms. Her camera bag, hanging from her shoulder, hit the ground with a crack that made her wince. The woman grabbed Emma's arm, hauling her upright. Her grip was iron, inhuman. Enough games. You're coming with us. Let go of me. Emma tried to pull free. The woman's hand tightened until Emma gasped from pain. She could feel bones grinding together. Feel her circulation cutting off. Then the woman's grip vanished. Emma fell again, catching herself on her hands. When she looked up, Dominic stood where the woman had been. He held the female vampire by her throat, lifting her completely off the ground. You touched what's mine. Dominic's voice was cold, empty. Nothing like the man Emma had talked to in restaurants and clubs. This was something else. Something ancient and deadly. Explain why I shouldn't kill you right now. The woman clawed at Dominic's hand. Her feet kicked uselessly in the air. Orders. Camille's orders. Just to talk. Just to bring her for conversation. Camille doesn't give orders about Emma. Dominic threw the woman. She flew across the parking lot, hitting a concrete pillar with a crack that echoed. She slumped to the ground, unmoving. Victor raised his hands. We didn't mean harm. Just following instructions. You grabbed her. You hurt her. Dominic moved toward Victor with that same inhuman speed. That's not talking. That's kidnapping. The third vampire ran. Just turned and disappeared into the night. Smart, Emma thought distantly. She sat on the pavement, cradling her bruised arm, watching Dominic become something she'd only glimpsed before. Victor backed away. Dominic, please. We were just threatening her, terrifying her, breaking the most basic laws of vampire conduct. Dominic grabbed Victor's shirt front. Tell Camille that Emma Hartford is off limits. Tell her the next vampire who touches Emma dies. No warnings, no mercy. Do you understand? Yes. Yes. I understand. Dominic released him. Victor stumbled, then fled. His form blurred into shadow and was gone. The parking lot fell silent. Emma could hear her own breathing, ragged and too fast, could hear distant traffic, could hear nothing from Dominic, who stood perfectly still, his back to her. Are you hurt? His voice was controlled now, almost normal. My arm. She grabbed it pretty hard. Dominic turned. His eyes found hers in the darkness. May I see? Emma held out her arm. Dominic crossed the space between them, kneeling on the pavement beside her. His hands were gentle as they examined her forearm. Already bruises were forming. Dark finger marks against her pale skin. It's not broken. Dominic's jaw tightened. But it will hurt for days. I'm sorry. I should have been here sooner. How did you know to come? I've had someone watching your building since you left the club. When I saw the three of them approach, I came as fast as I could. He helped her stand, supporting her weight. Can you walk? I think so. Emma tested her legs. They shook, but held. My camera bag. Dominic retrieved it from where it had fallen. He opened it carefully, checking the contents. The camera's intact. The lens took some impact, but nothing's shattered. Small mercies. Emma took the bag, slinging it over her uninjured shoulder. They said Camille wanted to talk to me. Camille wants to use you. There's a difference. Dominic scanned the parking lot, alert for more threats. We can't stay here. It's not safe. Pack a bag. Enough for a few days. You're coming to my estate. I have work, clients. I can't just disappear. You nearly did disappear. Permanently. Dominic's expression was grim. This isn't a request, Emma. Those vampires will report back to Camille. She'll know I intervened. She'll know you're important to me. That makes you a target. Emma's bruised arm throbbed. She could still feel the woman's grip. Could still see Victor's predatory smile. Fine. But I need to call Jenna. Tell her something. Tell her you're going out of town for a photography assignment. Tell her you'll be back in a week. Don't mention vampires. Don't mention me. Dominic walked with her toward the building entrance. The fewer people who know where you are, the safer you'll be. They rode the elevator to Emma's floor in silence. Emma's hands wouldn't stop shaking. Adrenaline, she told herself. Normal biological response to danger. Nothing to do with how close she'd come to being taken. To vanishing into whatever Camille had planned. Her apartment looked exactly as she'd left it that morning. Coffee cup in the sink. Unmade bed. Camera equipment spread across her desk. Normal life, frozen in time. 5 minutes, Dominic said from the doorway. Pack light. We'll get you anything else you need. Emma grabbed a duffel bag from her closet, threw in clothes without thinking about what matched, added her laptop, chargers, toiletries. Her hands moved automatically while her mind replayed the parking lot, the woman's iron grip, Victor's smile. She zipped the bag and turned to find Dominic examining her photographs on the wall. Wedding shots, graduation portraits, the kind of work that paid bills but didn't inspire passion. You're talented, he said quietly. These capture real emotion. They're just standard portraits. No, they're more than that. You see people? He touched the frame of a wedding photo, the bride laughing, caught mid-spin. You see the moments between the poses, the real joy. Emma joined him at the wall. It's what I do. Find the truth in the performance. like Eleanor did. Dominic's voice went distant. She saw through my performance too, saw the loneliness I'd been hiding for centuries. I'm not Eleanor. I know, but you share some of her gifts. He turned to face her. And unfortunately, you share her dangers. Camille went after Eleanor too, near the end. Tried to use her against me. That's part of why Eleanor was so unstable. So frightened. She knew other vampires wanted her dead. Emma's stomach dropped. You're saying Camille killed Eleanor? No. Eleanor killed herself, but Camille's threats contributed to her mental state. Camille wanted Eleanor gone so she could take my attention, take my power. Dominic's expression hardened. She's doing the same thing now, using you to hurt me. Then why protect me? If I'm just a target, if being near you makes me more dangerous. Because I couldn't save Eleanor. But I can save you. Dominic picked up Emma's duffel bag. And because despite everything, despite 200 years of telling myself I'd never care about a human again, I find myself caring what happens to you. The admission hung between them. Emma didn't know what to say. Didn't know if she wanted him to care. Didn't know if caring about a vampire king was the bravest or stupidest thing she could do. Her phone rang. Jenna's name flashed across the screen. Answer it, Dominic said. Tell her you're leaving. Keep it simple. Emma answered. Hey, Em. Thank God. I've been trying to reach you for an hour. Are you okay? I'm fine. Just got a last-minute photography gig. Out of town. I'll be gone for about a week. A week? What kind of gig? Estate photography. Big property outside the city. The client wants extensive shots of the grounds and buildings. The lie came easily. Too easily. Good money. I couldn't turn it down. Okay, but text me every day. Let me know you're alive. Promise. Promise. Emma met Dominic's eyes. I'll be safe. I've got protection. They said goodbye. Emma hung up, the lie sitting heavy in her chest. Another secret. Another piece of her normal life slipping away. Ready? Dominic asked. Emma looked around her apartment one last time. At the photographs on the wall. At the coffee cup she wouldn't wash. At the life she was leaving behind. Maybe temporarily. Maybe forever. Ready, she said. They took Dominic's Mercedes. Emma's Honda would stay in the lot. One more piece of normalcy waiting for her return. The drive out of the city took 40 minutes. Dominic drove in silence, checking the mirrors constantly. Looking for followers. For threats. Emma watched the city lights fade behind them. Watched suburbs give way to rural darkness. Watched her reflection in the window and wondered what Eleanor had thought, making this same drive 200 years ago. Had she been frightened? Excited? Had she known, somehow, that she'd never leave Dominic's estate alive? We're here, Dominic said. Emma looked up. Iron gates stood open before them. Beyond, a long driveway wound through ancient trees. And at the end, lit by floodlights, stood a mansion that belonged in history books. Stone and turrets, and windows that glowed with warm light. Dominic's estate. The place where Eleanor Hartford had died. The place where Emma Hartford would learn whether she'd make different choices or repeat the same tragic pattern. Chapter 6. What the Past Reveals. The mansion's guest room was twice the size of Emma's apartment. 4-poster bed. Antique furniture. Windows overlooking gardens that stretched into darkness. Everything was perfect. Everything felt like a museum. Emma set her duffel bag on the bed and walked to the window. Somewhere out there, beyond the manicured lawns, were the cliffs where Eleanor had died. Emma could almost see it. The young woman in her white wedding dress. The rising sun. The final choice. A knock on the door pulled her back. Come in. Dominic entered carrying a wooden box. I thought you might want these. Judith's diaries, the ones she left at my estate for safekeeping. Emma took the box. It was heavier than expected. How many are there? 5 years' worth. Everything she discovered about your family line, about the pattern, about Eleanor. He moved to the window, standing where Emma had stood moments before. She was thorough. Obsessive, really. She wanted you to have all the information when the time came. Emma opened the box. Leather-bound journals filled it, each one labeled with dates. She pulled out the earliest one. Judith's handwriting covered the first page. Neat, precise, so familiar it made Emma's chest ache. "I should let you read," Dominic said. "If you need anything, pull the cord by the bed. Someone will come." "Wait." Emma set the journal down. "You said Camille threatened Eleanor. How? What did she do?" Dominic turned from the window. "Letters, mostly. Anonymous at first. Telling Eleanor she'd never be enough for me. That I'd grow bored. That other vampires would always see her as food, not family." His expression darkened. "Then Camille started appearing places Eleanor went. Markets, church, social gatherings. Just watching. Just reminding Eleanor that she was vulnerable. Did Eleanor know it was Camille? Not at first. Camille was careful. But eventually, Eleanor figured it out. She confronted Camille at a ball 3 months before she died." Dominic's hands curled into fists. "Camille told her the truth, that I'd never truly love a human. That transformation would make Eleanor a monster. That the kindest thing Eleanor could do was die and free me to find someone worthy." Emma felt sick. "And you didn't stop Camille?" "I didn't know until after Eleanor was gone. She never told me about the threats. Never told me Camille was stalking her. She kept it all inside until it destroyed her." He met Emma's eyes. "That's why I won't make the same mistake with you. That's why you're here. Where I can protect you. Or control me. Is there a difference to you?" The question wasn't defensive, just tired. "I understand why you'd see it that way. Eleanor did too at the end. She thought my protection was possession. Thought I wanted to keep her human so she'd stay perfect in my mind. Didn't you? Maybe. I don't know anymore." Dominic moved toward the door. "Read the diaries. Judith understood things about our situation that I'm still figuring out. She might have answers I can't give you." He left. Emma listened to his footsteps fade down the hallway. Then she picked up the first diary and began to read. Judith's first entry was dated 5 years ago, 3 months after Emma's 20th birthday. "I found something impossible today. A pattern in our family tree that shouldn't exist. Emma looks exactly like photographs of Eleanor Hartford from 1823. Exactly. Same face, same bone structure, same eyes. I thought it was coincidence until I kept digging. Every 200 years, without fail, our family produces a woman with Eleanor's exact genetic profile. I've documented 12 instances going back to 1025. This isn't random. This is something else. Something I need to understand before Emma turns 24. Emma read faster. Judith had spent months researching genetic repetition. Had consulted scientists, historians, geneticists. Most dismissed her findings as impossible. But a few admitted there were documented cases of extreme genetic repetition in isolated bloodlines. Rare, unexplained, real. The second journal detailed Judith's search for information about Eleanor Hartford specifically. Birth records, death records, marriage announcements that never happened. And then, 3 months into her research, Judith had found something that changed everything. Eleanor Hartford died April 15, 1825. But I found something in the county records that doesn't match the official story. A letter from the local magistrate to the state governor, written 1 week after Eleanor's death. It mentions unusual circumstances, and witnesses who claim the girl threw herself from the cliffs after encountering a stranger of questionable character. The letter goes on to describe this stranger. Tall, dark-haired, gray eyes, impossibly pale skin. The magistrate notes that this same stranger had been seen with Eleanor Hartford for 6 months prior, and that he claimed to be her fiancé. But here's what made my blood run cold. The magistrate writes that he attempted to interview this stranger multiple times, but the man vanished from the estate before authorities could question him thoroughly. The magistrate's final note: I suspect this stranger is not what he claims. His appearance has not aged in the portraits we found dating back decades. I recommend further investigation. But there was no further investigation. The case was closed. Eleanor Hartford died by suicide. End of story. Except it's not, because I think I know who that stranger was. Emma's hand shook. Judith had figured it out years ago, had known about Dominic, had known about vampires. The third journal detailed Judith's decision to find Dominic. She'd tracked him through property records, corporate filings, historical documents. It had taken her 8 months, but she'd finally located him in the city. Had shown up at his office with photographs of Emma, with evidence of the genetic pattern, with questions he couldn't avoid. I met Dominic Gray today. He's exactly as I expected and nothing like I imagined. He looked at Emma's photograph for a full minute without speaking. When he finally looked up, his eyes were devastated. He said only 2 words. "She's back." I told him Emma isn't Eleanor, that she's her own person with her own life. He agreed, but I could see the pain in his face, the hope, the fear. We talked for 3 hours. He told me everything. About vampires, about bloodlines, about what Emma's blood represents to his world. He offered to stay away from her completely, to never make contact, to let her live a normal human life. I told him I needed time to decide what was best for Emma. He gave me his word he wouldn't approach her until I said it was safe. That was 3 months ago. I'm still trying to figure out if introducing them would save Emma or destroy her. Emma set the journal down. Her grandmother had carried this secret for years, had weighed the decision every single day, had tried to protect Emma from a truth that seemed impossible. The 4th journal was darker. Judith had started documenting threats, strange phone calls, people watching her house, someone breaking into her study and going through her research. Judith suspected Camille Winters but couldn't prove it. Dominic warned me that other vampires would eventually learn about Emma, that the repeated bloodline is considered valuable in their world, sacred to some, dangerous to others. He's offered protection, but I've refused. The moment Emma becomes connected to him officially, she becomes a target. So I've kept her in the dark, let her live normally, let her build a career and friendships, and a life that has nothing to do with vampires, or ancient bloodlines, or impossible genetics. But I'm running out of time. In 6 months, Emma turns 24. The same age Eleanor was when she met Dominic. The same age every Hartford woman has been when the pattern activates fully. I need to tell her soon. Need to prepare her. But I'm afraid. Afraid that telling her will destroy the life she's built. Afraid that not telling her will get her killed. The final entry was dated 2 months before Judith's death. I've hidden everything Emma needs to know. The safe in the attic, the combination in this diary, the journals at Dominic's estate. I've left breadcrumbs that will only make sense when she's ready. If I die before I can tell her myself, she'll find the truth on her own terms, in her own time. Dominic has promised to wait, to let her come to him, to respect whatever choice she makes. I pray I'm making the right decision. I pray Emma forgives me for keeping this secret. But most of all, I pray she doesn't repeat Eleanor's mistakes, doesn't let fear and pressure force her into a choice she can't take back. Emma is stronger than Eleanor was, smarter, more independent. If anyone can break this pattern, it's her. Emma closed the journal. Tears blurred her vision. Judith had died 3 months later. Heart attack. Sudden. Random. Or maybe not random at all. Maybe the stress of carrying this secret had killed her. Maybe the threats Camille made had been more serious than Judith documented. A sound from the hallway made Emma look up. Footsteps. Multiple sets, moving fast. The door burst open. Not Dominic. Not servants. 3 vampires Emma had never seen before. They were inside before she could scream. The leader was a woman. Red hair, amber eyes, beautiful and terrifying. Emma Hartford. Camille sends her regards. Emma grabbed the nearest object. A lamp, heavy brass. She swung it at the woman's head. The vampire caught it mid-swing, wrenched it from Emma's hands, threw it against the wall where it shattered into pieces. "We can do this easy or hard," the woman said. "Your choice." Emma backed toward the window. 3 floors up. Not survivable, but maybe better than whatever Camille had planned. The second vampire moved to block her path. Male, blonde, fast. "Don't even think about it. The fall won't kill you, but it'll hurt. A lot. Dominic will come. Dominic's busy." The woman smiled. "We made sure of that. Distraction on the grounds, fire in the west wing. He's occupied. By the time he realizes we're here, you'll be gone." Emma's mind raced. The cord by the bed. Dominic said to pull it if she needed help. She lunged for it. The third vampire was faster. He grabbed her around the waist, lifting her off the ground. Emma fought, kicked, scratched. But it was like fighting stone. He didn't even flinch. "Enough," the woman said. "Sedate her." Camille wants her conscious, but compliant. Emma felt a sharp sting in her neck. The third vampire had injected something. The room tilted. Her limbs went heavy. Her vision blurred at the edges. "No," she tried to say. It came out slurred. Wrong. The woman's face filled her vision. "Sleep, Emma Hartford. When you wake up, you'll learn what your blood is really worth." Darkness pulled Emma under. Her last thought was of Judith's journal, of the final entry, of the prayer that Emma wouldn't repeat Eleanor's mistakes. But lying on the floor of Dominic's guest room, unconscious and being carried away by Camille's vampires, Emma wondered if she'd already repeated the biggest mistake of all, trusting that Dominic could actually keep her safe. Chapter 7. Choices and Consequences. Emma woke to stone walls and iron chains. Her wrists were bound above her head, secured to a metal ring embedded in the wall. The room was underground. She could smell earth and dampness, could hear water dripping somewhere in the darkness. Her head throbbed where the sedative had hit her bloodstream. Her arm ached where the vampire had grabbed her. But she was alive. Conscious. That meant Camille still needed something from her. "You're awake." Camille's voice came from the shadows. "Good. We have much to discuss." Emma's eyes adjusted to the dim light. Camille sat in a chair across the small cell, perfectly composed in a black dress. Behind her stood 2 guards. Vampires. Always vampires. "Where am I?" "Somewhere Dominic won't find you. Not quickly, anyway." Camille crossed her legs. "We have perhaps 6 hours before he tracks you here. Maybe 8 if we're fortunate. Enough time for what I need." "Which is what? My blood? My death?" Emma pulled against the chains. They didn't budge. "Just tell me what you want. I want you to understand what Dominic really is. What he's done. What he'll do to you if you stay with him." Camille leaned forward. "He told you about Eleanor, I assume. How she died. What he claims was his tragic failure to save her. He told me she jumped. That she asked him to transform her at the end and he refused. Did he tell you why he refused?" Emma said nothing. "Because Dominic believes humans are better than vampires. Purer. More valuable. He spent 600 years hating what he is, rejecting his nature. And when Eleanor begged him to make her like him, he saw it as corruption. As destroying something beautiful." Camille's voice hardened. "He let her die, rather than accept that she might be happy as a vampire. That she might choose immortality willingly. You don't know that. I knew Eleanor. We were friends before Dominic took her attention. She confided in me about her fears. About how Dominic made her feel ashamed for wanting transformation. How he called it unnatural. How he said true love meant accepting mortality." Camille stood, moving closer. "He drove her to that cliff, Emma. His judgment. His pride. His need to keep her perfect and human." Emma's throat tightened. "If you were her friend, why did you threaten her?" "I didn't threaten her. I warned her. I told her what would happen if she stayed with Dominic. That he'd never give her what she needed. That his love came with conditions she couldn't meet." Camille stopped just outside Emma's reach. "I was right. She proved it by jumping. Or she jumped because you convinced her she had no other choice. Perhaps. But the result is the same. Dominic's love kills." Camille circled back to her chair. "And now he's doing it again. Bringing you into his world. Making you a target. All while refusing to give you the one thing that would keep you safe. Transformation. Yes. If you were a vampire, you'd be untouchable. No sedatives, no chains, no kidnapping by rivals." Camille gestured to the cell. "You'd be free. But Dominic won't offer that. Won't even consider it. Because he needs you to stay human. Needs you to be Eleanor reborn." Emma tested the chains again. "So what? You'll force me to transform? Make me a vampire against my will? No. That would bind you to me, and I don't want an unwilling progeny." Camille smiled. "I want you to choose it. To see clearly what Dominic won't tell you. That transformation isn't death. It's freedom. From what? From aging. From illness. From watching everyone you love Die while you stay frozen." Camille's eyes glowed amber in the darkness. From being prey in a world full of predators, Emma thought about the parking lot, about Victor's smile, about how helpless she'd been against creatures that moved faster than her eyes could track. "And if I refuse, then I let you go. Return you to Dominic. Watch as he fails to protect you again." Camille shrugged. "Eventually, someone will succeed where I failed. Someone will drain you dry or worse. And Dominic will spend another 200 years mourning someone he could have saved, but didn't. Why do you care? If you hate him so much, why not just kill me yourself? Because I don't hate him. I pity him." Camille's expression softened. "Dominic and I were turned by the same sire 300 years ago. We were human together. Transformed together. I watched him struggle with what we became. Watched him reject his nature over and over. He's been miserable for centuries, Emma. And he makes everyone near him miserable too. Eleanor loved him. Eleanor was 22. She didn't know better. She thought his suffering was romantic. Thought she could save him." Camille's voice dropped. "But you can't save someone who refuses to be saved. You can only drown alongside them." Emma closed her eyes. She thought about Judith's journals. About the prayer that Emma wouldn't repeat Eleanor's mistakes. But what were Eleanor's mistakes? Loving Dominic? Asking for transformation? Jumping when he refused? Or was the mistake believing that love required sacrifice? "What happens if I agree?" Emma asked. "If I let you transform me? I give you my blood. You drink until you die. 3 days later, you wake up a vampire. Strong. Fast. Immortal." Camille watched her carefully. "And you'd be free of Dominic's claim. Free to make your own choices about your existence. How would you expect loyalty? Obedience? I'd expect you to remember who gave you freedom when Dominic wouldn't." Camille tilted her head. "But I wouldn't own you. Transformation isn't slavery. It's rebirth." Emma thought about her life. About wedding shoots and rent payments and student loans. About growing old. About dying. About watching Jenna age while she stayed 24 forever. About watching Dominic stay 24 forever, while she turned gray and slow and forgotten. "How long do I have to decide?" "Until Dominic finds you. Which could be soon." Camille gestured to the guards. "They'll release you from the chains. You can move freely in this room. Eat if you're hungry. Think. When you're ready, call for me." The guards unlocked Emma's chains. Her arms fell, circulation returning in painful pins and needles. She rubbed her wrists, watching Camille move toward the door. "Why tell me all this?" Emma asked. "Why not just force transformation? Why give me a choice?" "Because Eleanor didn't get one. Not really. Dominic made her feel like transformation was betrayal. Like she'd be disappointing him by choosing immortality." Camille paused at the threshold. "I won't do that to you. Whatever you choose, it'll be yours. Not his. Not mine. Yours." She left. The door closed with a heavy thud. Emma heard a lock engage. Alone in the cell, Emma sat on the floor. Her mind spun through everything Camille had said. Everything Dominic had told her. Everything Judith had written. Everyone claimed to want what was best for her. Everyone claimed to be giving her a choice. But somehow, Emma still felt like a piece in someone else's game. Her hand went to her pocket. The ring. She'd grabbed it before leaving Dominic's estate. Had shoved it in her jeans without thinking. Now she pulled it out, holding it up to the dim light. Eleanor's ring. 3 rubies set in gold. The inscription inside too small to read in the darkness. But Emma remembered what Dominic had said, that it was Eleanor's engagement ring, that it represented a love that ended in tragedy. Emma thought about Eleanor standing on that cliff, about the choice she'd made when Dominic refused transformation. Jump or accept a future where she aged while he stayed perfect. Jump or watch his love fade as her body failed. Jump or become a burden. Eleanor had chosen death. Emma didn't have to. She could choose transformation. Could become strong enough that no vampire could kidnap her. Could live centuries exploring the world. Could stop being afraid every time shadows moved too fast. Or she could choose humanity. Could grow old. Could die. could live one complete mortal life free of the weight of eternity. The problem was, Emma didn't know which choice was really hers. Didn't know if she was making it freely, or if Camille's words had pushed her just like Dominic's silence had pushed Eleanor. A sound from above made Emma look up. Footsteps, running, then fighting. Shouts and crashes that echoed through the stone. Dominic had found her. 6 hours. Camille had guessed wrong. The cell door exploded inward. Wood and metal flew across the room. Dominic stood in the doorway, his clothes torn and bloody. His eyes found Emma immediately. "Are you hurt?" "No, just bruised." Emma stood. "Camille is gone. She left through an escape tunnel the moment my people breached the entrance." Dominic moved into the cell, examining Emma for injuries. "We need to leave. Now. This place isn't secure. She wanted to transform me." Dominic stopped. "Did she?" "No. She said she wanted me to choose it willingly." Emma held up the ring. "She told me about Eleanor. About why she really jumped." "Emma, is it true? Did you refuse to transform Eleanor because you thought it would corrupt her?" Dominic's expression crumpled. "Yes. I thought she was choosing transformation out of fear, not genuine desire. I thought if I made her a vampire while she was in that state, she'd hate me, hate herself, hate what she'd become. So you let her die instead. I made a choice I thought was right. I was wrong." He reached for her hand. "I've spent 200 years regretting it. Don't ask me to make the same choice with you." Emma pulled her hand back. "What does that mean?" "It means if you want transformation, I'll give it to you. Right now. Tonight. No conditions. No judgment." His voice shook. "I won't lose you the way I lost Eleanor. I won't let my pride kill someone I care about." Emma stared at him. "You'd really do that? Transform me? If that's what you want. If that's what keeps you alive and with me." Dominic met her eyes. "I made the wrong choice 200 years ago. I'm not making it again." Emma looked at the ring. At Dominic. At the cell where Camille had tried to give her the same choice Dominic was offering now. Everyone wanted her to choose. But Emma still didn't know what she actually wanted. "I need time," she said finally. "I need to think without vampires telling me what's best." "I understand." Dominic stepped back. "We'll go back to the estate. You can have all the time you need." "No, not your estate. Not anywhere vampires own." Emma pocketed the ring. "Take me somewhere neutral, somewhere safe. Then give me space to figure this out." Dominic nodded slowly. "There's a place. A property held in trust by the Vampire Council. Neutral ground where no faction can interfere. I can take you there. How long do I have before I have to decide?" "The council will give you 30 days. After that, you either accept transformation from someone or you have your memories erased and you never see the vampire world again." 30 days. Emma had 30 days to decide if she wanted to live forever or forget everything. 30 days to decide if she was Emma Hartford making her own choice or Eleanor Hartford repeating the same tragedy. Chapter 8. Breaking Patterns. 29 days. Emma spent them in a small cottage on the outskirts of the city, protected by neutral ground laws that even Camille respected. Dominic visited daily but never stayed long, never pushed, just brought her books and food and left before she could feel suffocated. Jenna thought Emma was on an extended photography assignment. The lie had grown easier with repetition. Everything had grown easier except the choice itself. On the final day, Emma drove to Eleanor's grave. The cemetery was old, tucked behind a church that had stopped holding services decades ago. Emma found the headstone easily. She'd been visiting it for weeks. Eleanor Hartford, 1803, 1825, beloved daughter. No mention of Dominic. No mention of the engagement. Just a young woman who'd lived 22 years and left nothing behind but a genetic pattern that repeated across centuries. Emma sat on the grass beside the grave. She'd brought the ring. Eleanor's ring. 3 rubies that caught the last light before dusk. "I don't know what to do," Emma said to the stone. "Everyone says they want me to choose, but I don't think any of them really do. They just want me to choose what they think is right." The stone offered no answers. Dead people rarely did. Emma heard footsteps behind her. She turned, expecting Dominic. Instead, Camille stood at the cemetery gate. "May I?" Camille asked, gesturing to the grass. Emma nodded. Camille sat beside her, both women staring at Eleanor's grave. "I loved her," Camille said quietly. "Not romantically, but as a sister, as someone who understood what it meant to exist in a world that wanted to control you. Dominic said you threatened her. I warned her. There's a difference." Camille pulled a flask from her jacket, taking a long drink. "I told her what life with Dominic would mean. The isolation, the judgment, the constant feeling that she'd never be enough because she wasn't immortal." "Did you tell her to jump?" "No, I told her to leave him, to choose her own life instead of his." Camille offered Emma the flask. Emma declined. She didn't listen. She thought love could overcome anything. It can't. Emma looked at the ring in her palm. "Do you regret it? Being a vampire?" "Every day, and never." Camille's smile was bitter. "I've seen empires rise and fall. I've loved and lost more people than you can imagine. I've done terrible things and beautiful things, and things I still can't categorize 300 years later." She met Emma's eyes. "But I'm still here, still experiencing it, still choosing each day whether to continue or end it all. Have you ever wanted to end it?" "Twice. Once after my human family died of plague, and I couldn't save them. Once after Dominic transformed me, and I realized what I'd lost." Camille took another drink. "Both times, I chose to keep going, to see what came next. That's the gift of immortality, Emma. Not living forever, but choosing to live each day knowing forever is possible." A car pulled into the cemetery parking lot. Dominic's Mercedes. He got out, saw them sitting together, and stopped. Camille stood. "Your keeper has arrived. I'll leave you to your decision." She paused. "Whatever you choose, I hope it's yours. Not Eleanor's. Not Dominic's. Not mine. Yours." She walked past Dominic without speaking. He watched her go, then approached Emma carefully. "I didn't know she'd be here." "She wasn't. We just happened to visit at the same time." Emma patted the grass beside her. Dominic sat, keeping distance between them. They sat in silence for several minutes. Finally, Emma spoke. "Tell me about Judith. About when she died." Dominic's expression tightened. "It was sudden. Heart attack. She was at home. The coroner said it was natural. Age and stress and genetics. Do you believe that?" "I want to. But I've lived long enough to know that convenient deaths are rarely natural." He looked at Eleanor's grave. "I had her body examined by a vampire doctor, someone who could detect things human medicine misses. He found traces of a toxin. Slow acting. Delivered over weeks. By the time it took effect, it looked like heart failure." Emma's blood went cold. "Someone poisoned her. I suspect Camille, but I can't prove it." Judith refused protection. Refused to take the threat seriously. His voice broke. "I should have insisted. Should have forced her to accept guards. She wouldn't have agreed. She was stubborn." Emma touched the ring. "She wanted me to make my own choice. Free of influence." "And have you? Made a choice?" Emma stood. Dominic rose with her. They faced each other across Eleanor's grave, the sun casting long shadows. "I have," Emma said. "But I need to do something first. Something Eleanor didn't get to do." "What's that?" "Say goodbye on my own terms." Emma held up the ring. "This belonged to Eleanor. It should stay with her." She knelt beside the grave, using her hands to dig a small hole next to the headstone. The earth was soft, recent rain making it pliable. She buried the ring 6 inches deep, patting the dirt back into place. "There. Now she has something that was hers." Emma stood, brushing dirt from her hands. "Now I can move forward without carrying her story." Dominic watched her. "What does that mean?" "It means I'm not Eleanor Hartford. I'm Emma Hartford, and I'm making Emma's choice, not repeating Eleanor's mistakes." She met his eyes. "I've decided about transformation." Dominic went completely still. "Tell me." "I'm saying no. To you, to Camille, to all of it." Emma's voice was steady. "I'm choosing to stay human, to live a normal human life, to forget about vampires and bloodlines and genetic patterns. Pain flashed across Dominic's face. "Emma, I'm not finished." She took his hand. His skin was ice against hers. "I'm saying no to transformation, but I'm not saying no to you." Confusion replaced pain. "I don't understand. I want to try this. You and me. Human and vampire. For however long I have. Whether that's 50 years or 5. But on my terms. No secret protection. No deciding what's best for me. No letting guilt over Eleanor drive your decisions." Emma squeezed his hand. "If you can accept that I'm going to age and die while you stay frozen, then we can try. If you can't, I walk away now and let the council erase my memories." Dominic stared at their joined hands. "You're asking me to watch you die. I'm asking you to let me live. Really live. As myself. Making my own mistakes and my own choices, even if those choices hurt you." Emma's voice softened. "Eleanor couldn't do that. She was too afraid of disappointing you. Too afraid of becoming something you'd hate. So she chose death instead. And you're choosing life. Yes. Fully human life. With all its limitations and pain and eventual end." Emma pulled her hand free. "Can you accept that?" Dominic looked at Eleanor's grave, at the fresh dirt where the ring lay buried. At Emma standing in the sunlight he could barely tolerate. "I spent 200 years wishing I'd said yes to Eleanor. Wishing I'd transformed her. Kept her with me forever." He met Emma's eyes. "But you're teaching me that keeping someone isn't the same as loving them. That love means accepting their choices even when those choices break your heart. So is that a yes?" "It's a yes to trying. To letting you be human. To not making decisions for you out of fear." He smiled, sad but genuine. "And it's a promise that when you're old and gray and dying, I'll be there. Not trying to change you. Just holding your hand. Like I should have held Eleanor's." Emma kissed him. Brief. Soft. His lips were cold, but his response was warm. Human. Real. When she pulled back, Dominic was staring at her with wonder. "What?" Emma asked. "Eleanor never kissed me. She said it felt wrong. Like kissing something that wasn't alive." He touched Emma's cheek. "But you're not afraid of what I am. I'm terrified of what you are. But I'm done letting fear make my choices." Emma stepped back. "Now take me to the council. I need to make my decision official before they force the issue." The council met in the same underground chamber where Emma had seen the vampire club. But the atmosphere was different now. Formal. Serious. 12 ancient vampires sat in a semicircle, their faces unreadable. Dominic stood beside Emma as she addressed them. "I choose to remain human," Emma said clearly. "I decline transformation from any vampire. And I request that my memories remain intact." The eldest council member leaned forward. "You understand what you're refusing? The protection, the power, the immortality." "I understand. I'm refusing them anyway. And you understand that keeping your memories makes you vulnerable? That other vampires will always see you as prey or leverage? I understand that too. Dominic has agreed to provide protection without trying to control my choices. If that's not enough, then I'll take my chances." The council members exchanged looks. Finally, the eldest nodded. "Very well. Emma Hartford, your choice is recorded. You will remain human with full knowledge of vampire existence. Dominic Gray will serve as your official protector, bound by council law to defend you but not restrict you. Any vampire who harms you will answer to this council. Is this acceptable?" "Yes," Emma said. "Yes," Dominic echoed. "Then it is done." The eldest gestured. "You may go. Live your human life, Emma Hartford. And know that you are the first in 12 generations to break the pattern Eleanor Hartford established." Emma and Dominic left the chamber together, climbed the stairs, stepped out into a night full of stars and possibilities. "What now?" Dominic asked. "Now I go home. Back to my apartment. Back to my photography work. Back to lying to Jenna about where I've been." Emma looked up at him. "And you figure out how to date a human in the 21st century. Fair warning, it involves a lot of texting and not enough dramatic brooding." Dominic laughed. The sound was rusty but genuine. "I think I can manage that." "Good. Because I'm done with grand gestures and tragic romance. I want boring. I want normal. I want coffee dates and arguments about what to watch on Netflix. Emma grinned. Think you can handle boring? With you? Never. Dominic took her hand. But I'm willing to try. They walked to his car together. Emma Hartford, 24 years old, fully human, fully alive, and Dominic Gray, 600 years old, learning for the first time what it meant to let someone choose their own path. Eleanor's story had ended on a cliff in 1825. Emma's story was just beginning. And for the first time in 200 years, Dominic Gray was ready to see where it would lead. Not forever, just today. And maybe tomorrow. And however many days Emma Hartford had left.